What's going on, friends? It's Colin. And then there were three. So our buddy Sean, he just peeled off. He's heading home today. He has to work tomorrow. But the three of us are heading back to our place in North Conway. We're going to chill because Tim and I have a long-ass ride tomorrow. So we're just going to rest up. And I'm going to roll camera the whole way. I'm going to talk on and off. So there will be some editing happening. Alright, so before we get out into the twisty turny roads, I thought I would give you guys a little public service announcement / tutorial. And this is primarily targeted at Canadian riders who are riding in the US. And I've found this, I don't know where I found it. I think actually an attendant at one of the gas stations explained this to me last year. And I've used it every time, and I've never had an issue since. A lot of places here in the States especially, you see it in Canada sometimes, but not nearly as frequently. You have to either pay by card, credit card, at the pump, or debit, or you have to prepay inside. And when you pay at the pump and you use a credit card, oftentimes they will ask you for a zip code. So a Canadian postal code, so a zip code is 5 digits. A Canadian postal code is, and it's, sorry, a zip code, fuck, like I'm doing terrible. God damn it, Colin. Anyway, a US zip code is 5 numerical digits. A Canadian postal code is 6 alphanumeric characters. So when you put your credit card into one of these pay at the pump contraptions, what you can do is when it asks you for a zip code, you take the 3 numerical digits of your postal code, you punch those in, and then you add 00. Maybe I'll make a lazy ass graphic and stick in this video to better explain what I'm not doing a particularly great job of articulating while I ride. But for example, if your postal code is A1B23, shit, that doesn't work. Alright, so let's say your postal code is A3A 5B7. You would take the 3, the 5, and the 7, and for your zip code, you punch into the console 35700. Works like a charm. So, I should have probably just explained that when I was sitting still, but now I've explained it while I'm moving. And there you have it. As I said, I will stick a graphic in to explain visually what I fumbled my way through verbally. And I suppose that's not just applicable to motorcycle riders, because there are other Canadians who may find themselves in the United States looking to purchase gas or petrol. Anyway, we are out of Lincoln, New Hampshire. We're now on the Kankamagus Highway. Tim's pulling up beside me. Yo! Oh. I've got a saddlebag open. Alright. So, I'm going to have to get Jeff's attention, and we're going to pull over at our next convenient stop. And and I don't want to freak him out, so we're gonna wait. So it's always good riding with buddies, because you don't want your saddlebag flopping around. No good comes from a floppy bag. Oh fuck, he's not seeing me. Alright. That's alright, I'll film the two of us for... I'm in behind now. So yeah, I managed to get one of the clasps on my saddlebag done up. That'll do. There's nothing of value in there. But it can fatigue the thing pretty badly to leave it open and blowing around. I didn't even remember opening it, but I guess I did. I got a bottle of Gatorade out. Totally forgot. Whoopsie! Anyway, now we're heading into the camp. This is some sweet riding, twisty turny. I'm just going to leave in some highlights, talk sometimes, let y'all enjoy the scenery sometimes. You get the picture. So yeah, I've now conveyed poorly that little how to get around the whole zip code thing that you run into when trying to pay at the pump. And that being said, I think I talked in the last video that if you have any topics that you think would be interesting for me to tackle in a motovlog, what I'll probably do is put a little thought into it, think of some talking points, try and remember them, and go out and ride and talk about them. What this also does for me is, it gives me an opportunity to just improve upon my my ad-libbing, if you will. Talking from the seat of my pants. And doing YouTube videos over the years actually helped my public speaking out quite a bit. And it's not like I had stage fright and I didn't have issues with public speaking, but often, getting up and delivering prepared remarks, that sort of thing, that wasn't an issue. But when you want to just be able to go in and wing it a little bit, well, that takes practice. And I've used these videos over the years to practice that sort of thing. And one of the skills, I always talk about, trying to push my skill set forward, and that's true in all the aspects of life where I have interest. I think where I have interest is a key point. Where I have interest, or I've identified a need to improve. So like I'm not working on improving my lawn mowing skills. I do the bare minimum when it absolutely needs to be done as quick as possible. And I could absolutely do a better job at mowing the lawn, but I just don't care. And what's the harm if I don't do a good job mowing my lawn? There is no harm. I don't live in one of those communities where, you have to keep up with the Joneses and people are out with a ruler measuring the length of your grass and reporting to some homeowners association if you're not keeping up with the minimum standard of care. There's like a rusted out bulldozer parked in an empty lot diagonally across the street from me. That's why I like living outside of town. Nothing I do in my yard is going to look worse than that. And I don't care about selling my house, so the resale value is irrelevant to me. I see that we're stuck behind a slowpoke, and that's going to get old real fast. Not that you want to speed through these roads, but you certainly want to be able to set your own pace. hopefully this individual is mindful and decides to pull over and let us by. Oh, hairpin curve. I will do my best to not drag a floorboard on this thing. You don't always get the wave returned out here, which I understand. You see a lot of motorcycles. It can be tiring having to return all those waves. Oh, we're good. Gravels, fuck. Ugh. Hey, they're out of the way. Yeah, there's a little bit of gravel on that turn. Yeah, I mean, this road makes a lot of lists of great rides, noteworthy rides. I did it once already this year, and we did a little bit of it yesterday, or maybe we rode the whole thing yesterday, I don't remember, but doing it again in the sunlight in good conditions. I can capture some footage with no windshield on. Plus the breeze feels incredible. When we're stopped and standing around, it's quite warm, but very nice and refreshing to just have that wind coursing through this mesh jacket, which has ballistic armor in the right places. The elbows, the spine, that sort of thing. Fell behind the gang there a little bit. With the lean angle of this bike, I found that right around 5 miles an hour, maybe 10, over the speed that they tell you to go through the curves, that's still pretty comfortable. And yes, I realize I'm being a little bit lazy. I'm using one day's riding to generate 2 videos, but I'm not going to put anything time sensitive in this one. I'm just going to have this one in the bag for when I get busy and I'm not going to be able to get a brand new video made. Work smarter, not harder, as they say. Scenic overlook, and it is scenic. The weekend we were here earlier this year was during Bike Week in Laconia, and that entire parking lot was absolutely packed full of bikes, like too deep in some places along the curb. Awesome. I don't know how many thousands of bikes we saw up on this road and throughout the White Mountains that weekend, but it was crazy. And we didn't actually wind up going all the way into Laconia ourselves because we just wanted to ride. That's how it's going to be. Got some rough patches here in the corners. It feels like home. A little bit, not really though. As you can see, there's lots of bikes. So if you're the kind of person that does the wave, you're going to get a workout in your waving arm. So yeah, the three of us are left, three different kinds of bikes. Jeff all the way up front. He's rocking a Triumph. I got Tim on the Victory, I got the Harley. Variety is the spice of life, my friends. And pretty much all of us have bikes that meet our needs like 90%. Well, they meet our needs 100% of the time, but you know, that Triumph is not a great touring bike. And there are better touring bikes than this bike, but it gets the job done. And then it's nice to be able to rip the shield off and be able to ride around in the warm weather with the breeze on you. That said, I love a road glide too. Love it. But yeah, if I went up to the touring line, I think it'd be a tough call between like a Road King special and a Road Glide special. In the Harley line, that is. It's not to say there aren't other options, because there absolutely are. There are other options that are better value for the money than a Harley by far. But I like my Harley. It's a chip magnet. Absolute chip magnet. And by chip magnet, I mean middle-aged men in parking lots. Lots of middle-aged men come over and ask about the bikes. This bike. Yeah, Moose Crossing. The boys, on the day that we were coming here, Tim and I rode together, and Jeff and Sean met up and rode here together, and they got some footage of a moose, which back in New Brunswick, it's not like you see them all the time. You know, you probably see one alongside the road, depending. You know, I usually once a year, once every couple of years. But Jeff is in Massachusetts. I guess it had been a really long time since he'd encountered a moose. They're big bastards though. So some of the warning signs here in New Hampshire are brake for moose. Like, who doesn't brake for moose? Just I see it, but why not? I'm just going to accelerate right into that beast of a creature. Be alert. Be looking as far ahead as possible. You know, I try and just scan a danger zone out in front of me all the time, see any signs of movement, and I'm looking as far ahead up on the road as I can, just always analyzing the risks, looking out for threats and that kind of thing. Should do that in driving any vehicle. But on a motorcycle where you're so much more vulnerable. Alright, is this person going to pull out? No. Thanks for nosing your way out there, though. Tim, how you doing? Alright. Oh, he's filming too. I can see the light on his GoPro. He got one of those Sena communication systems, and nobody else has one, so nobody to talk to. What a crying shame. I think, yeah, you can listen to music through that too. And he got one for fairly inexpensive, like a Bluetooth system for his helmet. I might have to look into that. When I want to listen to something, I just throw earbuds in underneath. I got some contoured ones that are comfortable inside my helmet, and I make lots of use of them. Yeah, baby. Alright, I'm going to go ahead of him and he can film. Give a thumbs up and a peace sign. Jeff's gonna wonder, what the fuck are those two up to back there? Oh, it's all good fun. And yeah, I think we're gonna make our way back to North Conway. We're just gonna chill and rest, chat, hang out on the deck. We have a small deck off the second floor of this apartment. There's just you go in and you go up a flight of stairs, so there's nothing on the ground floor. Lots of stuff to see and do in North Conway, though. There's a store that specializes in different kinds of jerky. I think they have beef and chicken, bacon, pork, whatever. And I think I saw like kangaroo jerky or camel jerky or something exotic like that, which I have no intention of trying. But if we're back in time, I may walk into that store. Seeing more riders out today with their helmets on, though. Here in New Hampshire, there's no helmet law, so it is your choice if you wish to go without a helmet. We do have, obviously, helmet and seatbelt laws in Canada, which I think makes sense because we have universal health care. So if you're in a motorcycle accident and you become brain damaged, well, at least a portion, if not all of your care, is going to be paid for by the taxpayers for the rest of your life. And down here, not so much. It's kind of a morbid thought, but it is what it is. And yeah, a lot of people are raised without wearing the helmet, and I find it feels kind of weird. I just rode my bike across a parking lot last year from point A to point B without a helmet. I'm like, yeah, this is just, nope. I was here in New Hampshire at the time. It was totally legal. And the same is true in Maine as well, but Vermont, they do have a helmet law. And I honestly don't care. That's one thing that you find a lot this day and age, is that people get real bent out of shape if someone else lives their life differently from how they live it. And if we go back to the one rule for all things, don't be an asshole, within those confines you can pretty much do whatever you want, as long as you're not affecting other people. Don't wear a helmet. I don't give a shit. Don't wear motorcycle gear. It doesn't matter. It's your body. You want to get married? Great, get married. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. You want to have kids? Cool. If you don't want to, none of my fucking business. You notice an awful lot of people like to look at how other people live their life and worry about it. So, fuck, don't worry about it. Got enough shit to worry about in my own life. As long as nobody is doing me or anyone in my family or anyone else any harm, I don't care. And I think you should have the right to do whatever you want within those sort of confines. I don't really align with any particular political party or anything. I hate politics. And I think that a vast majority of politicians are shitty. But at the same time, it's not like I'm going to run for public office, so it is what it is, my friends. Yeah, another PSA maybe that I'll throw in here is yesterday I kind of did a dumb thing. A lot of times as I'm going through twisties, I don't use my brakes. I engine brake, right? So I'm downshifting and upshifting a lot. I know other people will just kind of put their bike in, you know, 4th or 5th gear or whatever top gear is and just lug around in that gear. I like to downshift and upshift. I think it's easier on the engine, gives me more control. But I downshifted and you know, did some hard engine braking, and I didn't tap my brake light to let Tim behind me know what I was doing. So it kind of caught him by surprise. It was no issue because we ride staggered, and he just wound up riding up beside me sort of unintentionally. Except for when we do it intentionally for the purpose of gathering footage. But yeah, if you're gonna engine brake hard, just tap your I don't know, your rear brake a little bit. Just lay your foot on the pedal so that you're turning on the brake light. You're not actually using the brake. Let the folks behind you know what you're doing. All of you experienced riders know that already, but if you're just getting into riding, these are some of this is the minutia. That's a whole group that, I didn't think any of them were going to return the wave, and we were just going to be sad. But yeah, you know, you got to kind of get into the minutia of riding skills and good technique, and that's one of them. And I certainly had a slip. Didn't give him any indication. And this, you know, Harleys and these big V-twin engines, they're torque monsters. So engine braking can slow you down an awful lot in a hurry. And for those of you that don't know what I mean and don't drive like a standard, aren't familiar with driving like a manual transmission, which in North America is becoming more and more common, that a lot of people have never ridden a manual transmission vehicle or driven one in their life, whether that be a motorcycle or an automobile with a stick shift. So yeah, you know, you shift down to a lower gear, which puts you up at higher revs, and you don't come onto the throttle. Yeah, you may blip the throttle so that when you engage the engine, the revs kind of match, but then you're off the throttle, and the engine will just slow you down naturally. When you hear trucks making that great big loud, that's what they're doing, engine braking. So yeah, we put about 19 hours in the saddle in 2 days, which is no big deal. But tonight is just going to be a chill and rest, because we wound up having a way better day of riding weather yesterday than anticipated. We kind of thought we might have to lay low and stay out of the rain, but again, we got rain for like 2 minutes tops, and we put our rain gear on for a bit and didn't need it. Yeah, just rode crazy. So wanted to do a bit of sightseeing, and I think for the most part we're through the most interesting parts of this Kankamagus Highway. If I'm mispronouncing it, you guys can correct me, point me to a tutorial on how to say it properly. I could look it up myself, but I will forget, because that's how I roll. As it turns out, these are not the best touring gloves. The palms of my hands are getting a little sore. Just a little bit, no big deal. And we are now going to turn onto the 16 and head into North Conway. Cool. Real cool. Deal with traffic. Hope we didn't get caught off too much and too often. So yeah, guys, again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I know that this wasn't necessarily the most coherent, thought-out video, but if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. You know what? If you made it anywhere in this video, I appreciate it. Thanks, you guys, for hanging in there. So unless something super interesting happens and I tack it on as bonus footage at the end, okay, what are we doing? All right. I guess we're going left. Yeah, so unless something real interesting happens, we will sign off here. And if something interesting does happen, I'll tack it on at the end. You can look at the time scrubber down below the video if you want to see if there's going to be some cool bonus footage. But I kind of hope not at this point. And I think with that, I'm going to sign off, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.